Hello, this is Context Channel. Being on 26th July, looking at the cabinet that the president proposed recently that is pending approval by the government, it is clear that the president is not interested in delivery. There's nothing to do with service delivery there. Of course, to celebrate the new faces, including Mbadi and others, including Joho, and any other person who was brought in. But if you look at in terms of academic qualification or experience, maybe you can tell me which academic experience you think Joho has to discharge that duty well than the predecessor or Mbadi or any other person. And what this cabinet tells us specifically is that not that Ruto does not listen, not really. It says that Ruto has now allowed himself to play tribal politics. He has plunged himself headfirst into tribalism instead of meritocracy. And I'm not trying to say that the former cabinet was not tribalist. It was tribalist. And maybe shifting to another one, a tribal one, could not have required the deaths of so many people for him to replace with one tribal cabinet with another tribal cabinet. And the kind of statements he's issuing, saying that he wants to change and engage in so-called broad-based consultation, I don't know, national whatever, that tells you exactly it's not about performance, it is tribalism. This person, President Ruto, whom most people elected even if he did not come from their tribe, whom without being a formerly poor Kenyan who might understand the plight of ordinary citizen, now has accepted to participate in the politics of colonialism that were left by the English colonial state, that have been well midwifed and nurtured and preserved by the Kenyatta family, to hold this country like it is just so fragile that we cannot come together to achieve what we want, but Kenya must be maintained as a loose collection of tribes that are just centimeters away from tearing into each other and killing each other, which is a lie, and the president knows it. In fact, myself, I'm a Kikuyu, and I know very well if the president just wanted to bring in other people from other tribe to serve in his cabinet, we didn't really have to have all these protests for it to be achieved. If the president I elected, and I know other people who hold my view, if the president just woke up one day and did his analysis and realized that there are people from any other tribe, maybe even Prime Minister Raila Odinga or any other person has skills and experience or anything that can help him achieve his goal, I wouldn't care even if he elected Mr. Raila Odinga or any other person into any other position, including the deputy president, or even if the president himself decided to resign and maybe leave it to Raila Odinga if that was possible. What am I trying to say? My long introduction, I want to arrive to the point that, did you know, or as the details are emerging, that the government has in the midst of the ongoing protest. You call them Gen Z, even if the president himself has been saying they are organic, leaderless, I don't know, tribalist, like he said in Nyahururu the other day. They are not. The government has been in the midst of it, and it is shameless that the president whom we elected thought it was wise to lead the country down the path of protests, in which now 60 Kenyans have been killed, 60 children, so that he can justify bringing in opposition into the parliament, into his government. I have never seen such a diabolical move. Again, I can repeat very well, even if he decided to appoint people from the opposition, and including shed all Kikuyus from his government, and just bring any other person from any other tribe and promise that the person will do well, provide service to us, there's no problem. I wouldn't care about that. But it's so hard that he decided to bring or to allow this happen. The government allowed these protests to happen or infiltrated them. And this is not me saying. This is not me saying, this is Mwangi Kionjori, just the other day, posted this information showing that the government was involved in transporting protesters from regions, from Juja and other places to town. So I don't know if it is the regular peaceful protesters that were protesting, or the goons that have been stealing people, or those that raided the parliament, or others. We don't know, but this is what Mwangi Kionjori said. And Mwangi Kionjori is not just another villager. You wonder why would the government ever do that? Or why would it ever do that? I understand the government is wide. Maybe it's not the president himself. We all understand that the government is large, is like a huge house, which can have very many people, the leaders in that house, workers, servants, including pests and pets. But all of them can have their interest. So we don't know which faction of the government that participated, or that knew that youths were being ferried from Juja to go to cause chaos, or to go become looters, or to go all to tarnish the good name of maybe Gen Z protesters, whom, even as we stand now, I cannot verify that they have not been infiltrated by the government to move a formless agenda. So if you've been thinking that Ruto is very much scared about this protest, that they can dethrone him, I want to advise you to think again. That's not the case. Ruto has been behind these protests. And how do I know this? This is not me saying. Look at this video that shows an amalgamation of two videos. One of the statements that was made by Gachagua on 31st May, around 18 days to the protests, and what Ruto would respond. Please watch.
Gona tukibangirwo na ciana citu ihũthĩrwo gũtũgayania.
Wale wanaotutabiria giza na kututabiria maovu kule mbele, hizo ndimi naomba maaskofu muombe zikome. Because this nation, and I am speaking as the leader of this great nation, this nation is a blessed nation. This nation is going...
From the video, you can see very clearly that Gachagua had foreseen this, that our children will be used to quote-unquote divide us. I don't know what that means, but that's the situation we are in. We have children in the street demonstrating, and others looting, and we are divided now. We don't know if to support them or not. And myself, I've participated in past protests, and by now knowing, with the information that I know, that the government was involved or knew about people moving to town to participate in protest, then I cannot participate in them again. It's dangerous. I don't know what they are planning, but it's surely not something that is not evil. It's something that reeks of evilness, diabolical motive. And you realize what the president responded. He tried to deny everything. Why was he denying? He did not behave like somebody who was innocent or didn't know. He responded like somebody who is refuting. So he knew there were plans going on. Plans to draw children on the street. And then, even as children are making, the Gen Zs are making very legitimate demands. Like, for example, abolish unconstitutional offices of CASs. Abolish budgets to unconstitutional offices, including of the first and second ladies. Reduce corruption. Reduce the size of the government. Make it lean and efficient. That tells me that even if they are making these very good demands, we have had many other counter demands being made. And I think the person, maybe from the government, who drew this script, gave these very elaborate, good proposals so that we Kenyans can support them. But what do we have in return? We have now president electing as fat cabinet as it was, 22, replacing 22 with 22. Then declining, the bunge yesterday declined to reduce the budgets of the first and second ladies. And of course, I know you haven't heard anything concerning suspension of CAS and other unconstitutional offices. So what does that tell you? Ruto very well knows there's nothing that can happen. He's holding both the protests and pretending to be a victim. And I can never imagine such a diabolical move aimed at just having children die for nothing so that a certain class can continue to rule. And this is something that we are taking note of. I wish all those that have been retained in that government, including from the mountain, maybe it's high time we shown that we are not that very much hungry about power. We really don't care who should hold that power. And since people who quote unquote represent us there are rich people with jobs, why don't they just quit and let Ruto govern his term very well, however he thinks he can govern, and just support the government for the remainder of the term, so that lest he ever stand and say that he did not receive adequate support. Because I'm honestly disgusted if he can allow that thing of infiltration or some factions of the government moving protests, getting children killed, and having him not do anything, only for him to return the same old thing in terms of tribal appointments, people with minimal qualifications or even dubious qualifications. It's really interesting that he's allowing this happen. We elected him without thinking much about tribes, but we can see the mentality of him. He's stuck in that mentality of people who think that Kenya should only exist to pay tribal heads fat salaries and not care about any other Kenyan. And we remember very well, even before elections, he was campaigning like he was against it. He said the era of leaders always convening to discuss the salaries and positions of big people was over, and proposed that it was a time for proposing or looking into ways of representing the interest of common people. And I think that's what he should have been doing. So if possible, I wish all members from Mount Kenya can just resign from that government and we continue just supporting it from outside, so that he can never say that we did not support it. Let him, and only hold it to account, only integrity, and demand only integrity and delivery of service to all Kenyans in terms of roads, piped water, and schools, primary and secondary schools, and hospitals and clinics. I think that's the only thing that every Kenyan needs, because I don't think we don't have compartmentalized needs for every tribe. I think all our needs are those: primary school, nursery school, hospitals, roads, piped water. Then the leadership should exist for those purposes, not for the purposes of maintaining power. Context Channel, please like, share, and subscribe.